And it is the debate that has Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton at 10 paces over the past few weeks, and that's the debate over nuclear power and its role in our energy mix. The Prime Minister has, of course, shot down Peter Dutton and the Liberals' push for nuclear as being too expensive and even scary and dangerous, with some MPs going as far as posting ridiculous, juvenile, three-eyed fish Simpsons memes. Now, to talk about this and give us a bit more of a new perspective on this is South Australian Senator David Fawcett, who has been very vocal about some of the criticism aimed at nuclear energy. David, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on Palmary Live. And let's start out with this simple question. Is the cost of nuclear energy as high, as bad as Anthony Albanese, Chris Bowen, Labour, everybody else are trying to make it out to be?
Well, I think you should let the facts speak for themselves. So here in South Australia, where we pay on average about 45 cents per kilowatt hour, and we're the state that in Australia leads the renewables transition, if you go and compare us to Canada, on average they pay 16 cents per kilowatt hour, and they get nearly 60% of their electricity from nuclear generation. So I think the question is not, is nuclear more expensive or the most expensive, but the question should be, is the renewables plan as cheap as the Albanese government is promising, or like Canada, should we be looking for an all-of-the-above approach that has nuclear power generation for baseload combined with things like hydro as well as some renewables?
Well, that's right. And, you know, it's funny because just before I came on the program here, I popped by the house and there was a letter from my power company saying, oh, your rates are going up again. And I don't know what they are per kilowatt hour now, but it's just, you know, up another time again. And you were recently critical, too, of Energy Minister Chris Bowen's GenCost report, the CSIRO's GenCost report, which was used to push this renewable energy over nuclear debate. What does, and I want to just walk through this with you, what does Bowen and that report and the CSIRO get so wrong? Because the thing that I think about that is that's put together by scientists, not economists.
Yeah, so look, the key thing it gets wrong is when I speak to people in the community, they're concerned about the cost of electricity to them as a consumer, whether that's mum and dad at home, whether it's a small business, or whether it's a power-intensive industry, some of whom are looking at going offshore because of the rising price of power here. What GenCost calculates, and they say this up front in the report, is they calculate, in fact, the correct word is they model the cost to generate and store electricity. They don't cost the actual power to the consumer. And to do that, you have to move beyond this simple measure, what they call the levelised cost, to look at the whole system cost, which includes all of your transmission, your firming, etc. And on that basis, it's not measuring what it matters to the consumer. And more to the point, it is modelling, and the GenCost report highlights that they have picked a model with a set of assumptions using an algorithm which is not transparent, and that's what they have based their whole argument on. But there are other expert bodies in the world that have different models with different assumptions, different algorithms that get different results which match the lived experience of countries like Canada. And I think Australians should be seeking scrutiny as to why we can't have an open, fact-based debate around how we do actually calculate what's in the nation's best interest.
Well, and Senator, you know, one of the things that strikes me is you say the algorithm is a black box, and I think that that's disgraceful when it comes to a transparent society, but also it makes assumptions like a nuclear power plant only lasts for 30 years when they last decades more, and don't take into the account, you know, that solar panels have a 10 to 20-year lifespan, that windmills, same thing. You know, there's a lot of things that even I, an untrained eye, can see is wrong with this.
Yeah, and the assumptions they make, for example, are that the station will only last that long, but the lived experience in the States is that of the 92 or so reactors in the States, nearly 88 have already had approval to extend their life from 40 years to 60 years. And quite a few of them are now in the process of even now seeking an extension to go from 60 to 80 years. So the lived experience is that that upfront capital cost, amortised over such a long period, is actually going to generate the cheapest form of long-run electricity. And that's the conclusion of expert bodies such as the International Energy Agency and the OECD in a great report they put out in April of 2022, which highlights that the cheapest form of electricity is long-run nuclear.